Good morning and welcome to the Hybrid Road Funding 201 meeting at WCRC. Today's speakers are Matt McDonald, Managing Director. Can you raise your hand? Brent Schlack, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer. Please raise your hand. Adam Lake, Director of Operations. Well, thank you. Ken Harris, Superintendent. Assistant Superintendent Jared Powers. Assistant Director of Engineering, Aaron Burkholz. That is the dais. And the agenda today is the overview of WCRC services, road funding, asset management, local road partnership.
Tiffany, are you sharing your presentation? Oh, it's behind us, just not on the screen.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
I just want to make sure it's behind me.
Yes, it is behind you.
Thank you.
Local road partnership, question and answer, and ways to connect and contact with WCRC. I just want to let you know that the meeting audio and video is being recorded and will be posted to wcroads.org. You'll be asked to virtually raise your hand during a Q&A session. The chat is enabled. I will be monitoring the chat. And now I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thank you, Tiffany. And again, welcome. So glad to have you here this morning and just see a full room and also quite a few participants on Zoom. It's a great thing. And I appreciate everyone's interest and participation in today's. We're calling it 201 because we did a similar thing last year. So we're going with the college theme. We're now at a 200 level class. And last year was the introduction, but we also have some new information, and we'll be going over that as it relates to road funding. Go ahead, next slide. But first, we wanted to start with just continue to do an overview of us at WCRC, your road commission. We are an independent road agency founded in 1919, so we're over 100 years old. We're governed by 5 road commissioners, and we have 2 commissioners here. Our chair, Barbara Fuller, and member Joanne McCollum. And then the other commissioners, Roderick Green is our vice chair, Gloria Yamas, and Jeff Schmers. They are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners, and we are approximately 137 employees, full-time employees. Next slide. So just running through the stats. I say it all the time, but it is a big number and an awesome responsibility. We are responsible for 1,651 miles of county roads. For us in Washtenaw, it's fairly straightforward. If it's a public road and outside the city limits, that's us. Not always the easiest other counties, but for Washtenaw, that's the way it works. So we are responsible for any public road outside the city limits. Of that, there's 740 miles of unpaved roads. So you can see the picture of the grader because that's a lot of the work that we do is maintaining that unpaved system. We also have 126 bridges. So bridges are defined as any span that's over 20 feet and over. So anything under 20 feet, we define as a culvert. So we have 126 bridges and over 2,500 culverts. And these are our assets that we keep track of. We have over 112 stop and go traffic signals. That's red, yellow, green. And then over 40,000 road signs along our network. We also are contracted with the Michigan Department of Transportation to maintain almost 600 lane miles. And that would include those routes that you're familiar with, US 23, I-94, M14, US 12, and some of the M roads like M52. Next slide, please. So a lot of what we do is routine maintenance. And here's just a whole host of things. Right now, we're kind of in the snow and ice removal. We thought we were done with that. No, not really. But we all live in Michigan. We know that's a little bit of a false sense of spring when it's February on the calendar. So we're back to snow and ice removal. We do a lot of storm cleanup in response to Mother Nature. Coming up here, we're going to have quite a bit, and we've already started pothole patching with that rigorous freeze, thaw, freeze. It really does a number on our roadways. So that's kind of the 'tis the season. And then as things are thawing out, we're addressing drainage, then getting into grading and dust control kind of in the summer months. And then always keeping track of our signs and signals as routine and maintaining culverts and bridges. Next slide, please. So this is just a picture, a snapshot of our districts. So we kind of carve up the county into districts. District 1, our foreman is Tony Grubb. He operates out of our main yard right here in Scioto Township, and he services Scioto, Lodi, and Webster. District 2 is led by Tim Neal, and they are out of our Southeast Service Center on Michigan Avenue and Morgan Carpenter area. Tim Neal is responsible for working in the communities of Ypsilanti Township and Pittsfield Township. And then District 3 is kind of our northwest part of the county. That is out of the Chelsea yard. And he services Lyman Township, Dexter Township, Sylvan Township, and Linden Township. District 4 is moving to the southwest part of the county. The yard is out of Manchester, and that's Rourke Freeman, and he services Sharon Township, Freedom Township, Bridgewater Township, and Manchester Township. Thank you for the highlight there, Tiffany. And then District 5, that is led by our foreman, Trevor Fiesel. Trevor works out of the Southeast Service Center as well, over on Carpenter and Michigan Avenue area. And he services Augusta Township, York Township, and Saline Township. And then last but not least is District 6. It's housed at our Northeast Service Center, Yard 6, which is off of North Territorial Road, east of 23. And he services Mike Massey is a foreman who services Northfield Township, Salem Township, Superior Township, and Ann Arbor Township. That is our districts for maintenance purposes. Next slide. Also, we do a lot of construction and preservation. A lot of the emphasis is on surface preservation. We'll talk later about asset management. Brent will talk a little in depth, and really it's extending the service life of that asset or roadway. So we do a lot of resurfacing, but we also do some reconstruction. We do some intersections and work on bridges and culverts in our construction season. Next slide. So this is a snapshot, and I believe it's a handout in the packet. Also, it's a map, 11 by 17, a little hard to read on the screen, but really what I'm trying to emphasize is we're doing a lot of work in 2026. It's color coded by the type of work, and over on the legend on the right side, you'll see the type of work. The red lines are our mill and resurface. That's that top asphalt layer, gets milled off and resurfaced. The blue roads are reconstruct or a pulverize and reconstruct. The yellow are safety projects. The orange is kind of our seal coat projects. And if it has X's on it, that means it's millage funded. And then also we can't forget our gravel roads or limestone overlays are highlighted in light green. And then we also partner with our townships and county parks on non-motorized pathways, and is the darker green. The dots signify there's something going on. If it's a blue dot, it's an intersection project. If it's a green dot, it's either a bridge or culvert, depending on the size that I described earlier. I think that's it for this. As you can see, this is a banner construction year. It's going to be a high water mark. We've got some packets coming into the room as well. If you didn't pick up your packet, Shelby's in the back. Yeah. Yep. We'll pause while we hand those out. Bless you.
Okay. So the PowerPoint is in there for you to follow along.
Yep.
Everybody have this now follow along. Diane needs hers for the interview.
Yep, you can certainly follow along in the packet. And just for a description, we are going to kind of run through the PowerPoint presentation. We'll take question and answers toward the end. But if you have a burning question and want to raise it, and we just want to ask that you come up to the microphone so that everyone can hear you online. And then following today's presentation, we will have lunch will be provided for those that are in person. And we'll do that downstairs at about noontime. So, all right, now that we got all the information out there, again, this is our 26 road and bridge projects, mostly on the primary system. This map is just a snapshot in time. Obviously, it gets updated as we add projects, as we refine our local road program. We'll add to this. And next slide, really where the best place to go is our website, wcroads.org. And you can click on the road work and construction tab at the top. And next slide, it will take you to where the most current information is on this page, 26 projects. It's a interactive map, or you can scroll down and there's tiles for the various projects. If you've got questions about a project, our website is really the best place to go, or just give us a call, always. Next slide. So getting back to our county road network, we do break it out into, we've already talked county primary and county local. There is a distinction there because of the funding and how that works. County primary, that's 36% of our network, and that is the road commission's sole responsibility. County local, that's where we really need that partnership, and we're going to talk further about that and how the funding works with local system. So we're classified in those two types, primary and local, and the classification is determined by the state as outlined in Act 51 of 1951. And really MDOT administers that certification process. So they have criteria on what is a primary road, what is a local road, and we'll get into that. Next slide. So primary roads connect the communities. Again, we have quite a bit of primary roads, almost 600 miles, of which about 77 are still unpaved. Examples would be like Zeeb Road, Jackson Road, North Territorial. Those are those east, west, or north-south connectors. Sometimes it's just those connectors between towns, like Dexter Chelsea or Dexter Ann Arbor. Pleasant Lake Road is another example. And you can, numerous examples throughout, and we'll provide a map here shortly. Next one is local roads. Those really connect people where they live to that primary network. And this is the larger part of our system with 1,059 miles of local roads, of which only 397 miles of local roads are paved, typically in subdivisions. All right, next slide. So this is an example of a certification map. So we have these also on our website, available sorted by township. We just picked Scioto Township. This is the easy one because we're right here on Zeeb Road. You can see Zeeb Road is that north-south connector, kind of divides the township in half. The primary roads are listed by the legend in that kind of zebra stripes. And then the local roads are just that no fill in there. It's just two lines. And ultimately, you can kind of see Scioto's a good example where the eastern part of Scioto is a little bit more urbanized. And you can see the primary network is almost every mile, sometimes even half mile. And as you go to the west, for instance, in the southwest quadrant of the township, you really have only primary roads every 2 or 3 miles. And that's true in a lot of our rural townships. Primary roads are typically every 2 or 3 miles, where in the urbanized areas like Ypsilanti Township or Pittsfield, you're going to have them on the mile or half mile, in some instances quarter mile, depending on the intensity of the land use. So you can see what's going on. You can see the cities as well. They're grayed out because anything within the city boundary is the city's responsibility. So this is an example of what classifies each of the roads in your townships. Next slide, please. So road funding. We'll talk about that. So Michigan Transportation Funds is our largest revenue source, and Michigan Transportation Funds is comprised of both the license and registration fees and the state fuel taxes that are essentially paid at the pump. So the way it's historically been, and this is obviously changing, our MTF amounts we receive, about half came from vehicle registration fees, half came from the pump. I say that because there was big change in the fall of last year. So the state enacted a lot of changes related to road funding, and what they did was we call it the swap, where sales tax was eliminated on fuel. Previously, we did pay fuel sales tax. We were one of the fewer ones in the country that paid sales tax on fuel. And that tax wasn't dedicated to roads. It actually went to the general fund. And there was some discussion, a lot of discussion about the taxes collected at the pump could just be dedicated straight to our transportation network. So that change was made where they eliminated the sales tax and replaced it with the equivalent of what would be the sales tax. So the MTF at the pump per gallon was previously 31 cents, and now it's moved up to, starting in January, 52.2 cents per gallon. So that is kind of the equivalent of what was the sales tax. And now 52.2 will essentially go into the formula for Michigan Transportation Funds. It's expected to generate an additional $1.1 billion for the state of Michigan. Previously, the state would put a portion into the formula out of the general fund, and it was roughly 600 million. So really, it's a net increase of 400 million. But long term, I think this is going to be a great revenue source for us, this additional taxes paid at the pump. However, next slide. This is kind of a slide where it kind of tells a little bit of the story of Michigan Transportation Funds. Historically, we've been under $1 billion a year collected, and I know that sounds like that's a big number. And when you look at statewide, it gets distributed. Our portion of Michigan Transportation Funds last year was 37 million. Earlier in my career, back in 2008, it was much less. It was around 16 million. So there was quite an increase back in 2018 when a similar push for investing into transportation was made. But there's been a lot of disinvestment over the years. You can see there was many years from 2000 to 2016 where we hovered in around 900 million. And ultimately, there was a big bump up. You can see it drop off in 2020. Again, that was COVID, a lot less people driving. Therefore, the fuel tax really dropped off. And then it came back up to and normalized in 24. But it was well documented. The needs outweighed the funding. So they made a big push, and now we're going to see additional transportation funds with Michigan Transportation Funding increase because of the gas increase tax and the elimination of sales. Next one tells a little bit story. So it's good that we're split with vehicle registration and licensing fees plus revenue at the pump, because the reality is in Michigan, and over the course of the next few years, I'm sure it'll it'll also play out. The gallons sold in Michigan, this is tracked since 1999. You can see we're in a downward trend. And really what that entails is vehicles are getting better fuel efficiencies, which is a very good thing, right? But for revenue related to transportation, it's not such a good thing because ultimately they're selling less gas, therefore we're getting less revenue. So even though we're getting an increase for what we collect at the pump, the amount of gasoline being sold over time is still going down. So that's a future problem to solve. And the legislators did, and governor signed into law the changes that also include studying a different way of collecting, a mileage-based user system. So that is going to be in the works for the future. That does not take place now, but something to look forward for future conversations. Next slide. Also was enacted the creation of a new revenue stream. So they called it the Neighborhood Roads Fund. And it's comprised of two laws that were passed whereby they are directing corporate income tax into this new Neighborhoods Road Fund. It's expected to generate roughly 600 million for the state. And then, in addition, they are looking, they have passed a law and are going to tax wholesale, 24% wholesale tax on marijuana sales. And that would also go into the Neighborhood Roads Fund. And that's expected to generate 420 million. So combined, we could see an estimated amount for the state, about $1 billion going into the Neighborhood Roads Fund. However, the timing and the amounts distributed to the various road agencies is not known. This is two new laws, which the state is working with the Department of Treasury and the Department of Transportation on how they're collecting, when they're collecting, and then when they're distributing. So I think of it like, much like the township's winter taxes. We're going to get it at some point. It's going to be collected in 26, but likely we won't see it distributed until 27. And the amounts that we are going to get is unclear right now. We have estimates, but until we actually see the revenue, we're certainly not looking to spend it. So we're not going to spend it before we get it, essentially. So we as a road agency, both on the Michigan Transportation funding side and the Neighborhood Roads Fund side, really need to monitor and continue to amend and review on a quarterly basis, much like our budget. Next slide. So our 2026 budget, this is just a pie of where all the money comes from for the Road Commission. Like I said, the Michigan Transportation Fund, MTF, is about half of our revenue stream. As you can see, the Neighborhood Roads Fund is listed, but we're anticipating 0% of our budget, meaning like we don't think we're going to see any of that revenue this year, that it's going to be something that it gets collected this year, but distributed next year. We are the recipients of a lot of federal and state funds. Those are competitive grants and also things that we program at Watts. I'll talk about that in a minute. That's about 23% of our budget. We have our local roads program, which historically we have great participation in, and that's roughly, this is just an estimate at the beginning of the year, 7% of our revenue that we expect. The other contribution is millage funds. So we have the countywide roads and non-motorized millage where we receive about $5 million a year. And then we also have other partnerships like with county parks. We're building border trails on along Huron River Drive. That's in this year's budget, and that's a substantial contribution from county parks for that project. And then as I spoke, we are a maintenance organization for MDOT. So we do the state highways. So that's a revenue source from the state to pay us for maintaining their system. throughout the year. So that's 4% of our income. And then the miscellaneous income is fees that are collected and any interest earned is slated there. So that's our revenue in a snapshot. Next slide, please. I talked federal aid. That is a program through Watts. It's in the Transportation Improvement Plan, the TIP. All that is programmed at those technical meeting and the policy meeting, and then ultimately gets passed along to SEMCOG, Southeast Michigan Council of Government, which essentially adds those projects to the state's transportation plan. It does include things that are programmed routinely, our rural and urban funds, but also competitive grants that we go after, and whether it be for safety or congestion mitigation or carbon reduction. We also have transportation alternative plan projects, the TAP, which we partner with townships and county parks on as well. So that's federal aid. Next slide. You had a question?
Oh, wait a minute, one second.
No,
You
that's
have to come to the front.
Yeah, I'll can repeat the question. So the question was, are federal aid just on primary roads? Yes. Typically, the answer to that is our federal aid eligible system is the primary network. There are some occasional nuances, but that is by and large. So the countywide roads and non-motorized millage, talked about that. That is a $500,000 property tax levied countywide that was voted on in 2024 and passed. I think 67% of the voters voted for it. It is a very unique millage in that 20% of the revenue collected goes directly to county parks for a non-motorized component. They fund initiatives like the Border to Border. They also have a program that townships and others can apply for funding through the Connecting Communities grant. And then ultimately, the Road Commission receives about $5 million each year. And the way that we developed our plan was any revenue generated in that township gets put back into that township. So some communities will see a fair amount of work completed, like Pittsfield and Ypsilanti both generate quite a bit of revenue. So there are several projects each year. And then in our more rural areas, there may be 1 or 2 projects over the course of the 4 years. So we think that's really the strength of the plan, that before people vote for the millage, they know where the money's going, what projects are planned. So it's important that we go execute that plan. That was essentially promises kept or are made or kept through construction. And the monies are collected through winter taxes and then spent the following construction season. And they're locally bid, so we do see some pretty good favorable bid prices as well. So, and it's primarily invested in the primary road system. Next slide, and you'll see you go back one slide, and a lot of those signs out there, you'll see projects funded by the residents of Washington County. So anytime we have millage projects or millage money in a project, we make sure those signs are at the start and beginning of those segments that are being improved, so that the voters know, hey, all right, this is one that was funded by the millage. So that's an important tangible thing that you can see on the roadway. Next slide. So then this is our local road program. This is a lot of the reason we're here is under the current state law for Michigan transportation funds. Any improvements to local roads requires that 50% to come from somewhere else, which oftentimes is the township. That's really hasn't changed and isn't going to change as it relates to Michigan transportation funds. The new funding source, neighborhood roads funds, which I'm sure there's that question out there, is that there is not a obligation to match for those new funds. So we are going to have to think about and develop a policy for our board to adopt on what are we going to do with the local road program moving forward once we understand the new funding source. Again, we aren't getting any of that neighborhood roads funds this year. We don't anticipate. So we have to understand, A, when are we going to get it? And then B, how much is it going to be? And then start to plan how that will reshape our local road program. You want to come to the mic? Come on up to the podium. Come on up if you've got a question. That way people online can hear you.
Maintenance.
Okay.
Could you please clarify?
Yeah, of course. So much like
Can you repeat the question?
The question was, what is the difference between maintenance and an improvement? So one obvious one is if we're paving. Paving is a big improvement that is not maintenance. Our normal maintenance is winter maintenance, pothole patching, addressing flooding, mowing, number of those things which I listed on a previous slide. If it's preventative in nature where we're trying to extend the service life of the road, like seal coat, that would be a project where it's an improvement. If it's paving, if it's a reconstruct, that's obvious. If it's adding gravel to an existing gravel road where we're resurfacing, that is an improvement where we're looking for participation as well. Does that help? Okay, great. So again, routine maintenance, snow and ice removal, storm cleanup, pothole patching, grading, drainage, dust control, removing and replacing signs and signals, that's general maintenance. If we're doing major improvements or minor improvements, though, that's what that 50% rule would kick in. And again, that's for local roads only. We are not asking for any participation in primary roads. That is solely the road commission's responsibility, although we have had townships wanting to partner on primary roads as well. So we've had that great partnership on primaries, but really that request and requirement of the law is 50% for that local road projects. So speaking of our local road program, knowing that we're going to get an increase in MTF, Michigan Transportation Funds, we ended up increasing our local matching program. Previously, it was $2 million. And so back in December of 2025, our board approved a budget that reflects a $4 million investment for our local road program. So essentially, it doubles what you had available for from last year compared to this year. And that's reflective in the packets that were sent out. We'll get to in a minute. Also, our local road program includes a matching program for culverts and bridges. So that's more for as budget allows, but we are absolutely looking to have conversations. If you're interested in improving a local culvert or bridge, we can definitely have that conversation and understand what does that mean for the budget this year and next. And then, as I described, we had those 2026 local road funding packets. They were sent via email last Friday. It was sent to all the elected officials in the township. And then also, they are posted to our township pages on our website. Okay. Yes, Tiffany?
They're also in the packet
They're in the packet of your
for the in-person.
Thank you for those that are in person. Next slide, please. So now we're going to talk a little bit about asset management. I'm going to hand it over to Brent Schlack.
All right, thanks, Matt. So yeah, go ahead. Thanks, Tiffany. So we'll start it off with a definition. This definition is actually part of the law. So we're required by law to have an asset management plan for our primary road system. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit. But the definition is the ongoing process of maintaining, preserving, upgrading, and operating physical assets cost effectively based on a continuous physical inventory and condition assessment and investment to achieve established performance goals. That is a mouthful. But you can go to the next slide. So I guess to kind of simplify it, we always use the example of maintaining your assets for your home or for your car. for your car, you know, if you routinely do preventative maintenance where you're changing the oil on your car, then that helps extend the service life of your car. And if you don't change the oil, then over time your engine will begin to degrade and break down, and then that makes for a costly improvement or repair on your car. Same with for your home. We always like to use the example of a roof. So if you do, your roof is similar to our roadway system, so you can do preventative maintenance on your roof. Over time, your roof signals will degrade, and then you can do a simple overlay on that roof. But if you don't have the funds for that, your roof will continue to degrade, and then it'll potentially get holes, you potentially have to repair the underlayment. Again, it's a more expensive improvement for your roof. And then if you continues to degrade, you get holes, it starts to leak, and then it becomes again more costly. That same scenario can apply to our roadway system. So we want to do preventative maintenance of our roadways to extend that service life. So the life of a road is about 20 years, so we want to do small improvements to try and maintain and extend that service life. Drainage is a big portion of extending our service life of a road. So not only just the surface, a lot of our ratings, which we'll get into in a minute, are just on that surface. But to maintain and have a good condition of that pavement, you have to also improve the drainage. And so we're looking at that whenever we're doing our assessments. Tiffany brought up the next slide. So this is required. This is our asset management plan. It actually ends this year. We have to renew our asset management plan. We're required by law. This is Public Act 325 of 2018, where we look at our assets for our paved road system, the condition of that, the condition of our bridges, our traffic signals, and our storm sewers and culverts. So that's all contained within our asset management plan. So we have to routinely update this. It's a 3-year plan, and you can go to our website to look at that plan. Actually, I think it's linked within your packet to if you want to look at our asset management plan. But this asset management plan covers our primary road system. In all those assets that are on our primary roads. You can go to the next slide.
We have a question in the front there.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to come to the front.
Yeah, you had mentioned the lifetime of the roads at 20 years. Is that for paved roads or unpaved?
That would be for our paved roads, but that would be for a full reconstruct of the road, where we're looking at underlying road bed, we're either pulverizing and then replacing the surface and then improving that drainage. So that would be for a full reconstruct.
What about a gravel road? What's the estimated lifetime for a gravel road?
I'm going to have Adam kind of touch on some of that. It's definitely not 20 years. I can tell you that, but Adam could probably answer that.
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on traffic, drainage, so a lot of tree cover, topography changes. If a road stays wet routinely throughout the year, you're lucky sometimes to get 7-8 years out of a limestone resurfacing project. If you have open area, pretty good drainage, you're able to, have serviceable limestone there. So essentially the depth of limestone, there's some serviceability there so we can grade it and shape that road. Those roads you can last 10, 15 years with maintenance. But you're at your pretty much limit at that point because Mother Nature and the sediment created by our routine scraping, snow plowing, traffic, rain events, that sediment starts to build on the outside edge of the road. And a lot of times, spend a lot of time talking to quite a few in the room with that country curve we refer to, which is where the road essentially is maybe 24 foot wide, and at 24 foot 6 inches, you have a 4-inch, lip, essentially edge there of just sediment that builds and starts growing grass. So that's the drainage where the drainage starts to be impeded and starts lessening the lifespan of that road because we can't keep it dry.
Yeah, we're challenged in our county because a lot of our gravel roadways have a fair amount of traffic volume. So that is the biggest challenge when you get upwards of 500 800 to 1,000 cars a day, that degrades quite quickly. Commissioner Sanders,
Do I have to get up and?
you do not. I can repeat your question.
So I'll use my outside voice. So my question is related to the 20-year sort of expectation for life of the road. Is there any adjustment done when we know or we find out that there's going to be heavier truck traffic because of growth in communities, expansions, let's say US 23 improvements, where Michigan Avenue is that trunk line that's being used to get to that work site? Do we make adjustments for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question was, for those online, is there adjustments if you know there's a high percentage of commercial truck traffic on a roadway? And my example that comes to mind in Pittsfield Township, we had a very deteriorated asphalt roadway in Carpenter Road between Packard and Washtenaw. And at that point, we take a look at what's there with soil borings and then we take counts of the volume of the traffic, the percentage of commercial traffic. So knowing the types of trucks and the corridor, we made an adjustment where we ended up building a very robust 9 inches of concrete roadway. So our commercial corridors, we do review that, and typically we're going to more of a concrete pavement on those commercial corridors where, when we can afford to. Concrete is very expensive. It's a big, high initial cost, but long-term, I feel like it's good bang for your buck. It's that 20-year fix that's going to solve. It's a rigid pavement, and it's going to be able to withstand a higher volume of commercial traffic. So we do make those adjustments. Another example, in Scioto Township, the Jackson Road corridor. We knew that was going to be a high commercial corridor where we partnered with the township to build a boulevard section that's concrete. So we do make those adjustments. By and large, a lot of our road network is asphalt, and oftentimes we only have enough money to do resurfacing, meaning take the few layers off and put a few layers back. But when we have that opportunity for a reconstruct, we absolutely will plan for and address that long term. Yes, sir.
Last year at the meeting, I asked about this new material, it's rubberized asphalt that you guys said you might be using it out in Sylvan Township to recap roads. I was wondering if you did use it.
So the question was, have we used rubberized asphalt? So we did submit for and get a grant from Eagle for rubber tired asphalt mix. And we actually applied that on Ellsworth Road. It is a more expensive material, and the grant covered kind of the price difference in between the regular asphalt and the rubberized asphalt. We also had to put in kind of a control section and then a section of the rubberized material. So that was a very unique grant opportunity we've got. That was in Pittsfield Township on Ellsworth Road. That we did not apply anywhere else thus far.
What stretch of Ellsworth?
So Ellsworth between Platt and Carpenter. Yeah, actually there was a news article, a crew came out, Channel 7 came out and
Yep.
did a little story on that. So
Yeah, we're working with Michigan Tech University to study that. That's why we did a control section, so that we can determine, with that extra cost, does it make sense to put this in other locations? Because we're going to extend the service life of that road. So because we can extend the service life with a similar improvement, then it may make sense to actually spend the additional funds to put this down elsewhere.
Is that a recap or a complete rebuild?
It was a mill. Yeah, we milled out the 2 inches and then put 2 inches back. Yep.
What stretch was the control section?
The control section was, I think it was between the two. No, actually I take that back. It was on the eastern side of Ellsworth Road from Carpenter Road to, I always get mixed up on which bridge that is. Is that the 23 bridge? Right. Yep. And then, and I think we do have a lane between the bridges, that's, a control section. And then the western half of that is the rubberized.
So yeah, that's very unique. What we're trying to do is partner with the university and Eagle so that they can demonstrate this is a sustainable material, and ultimately it kind of gets made into mainstream MDOT mixes. Because right now MDOT does not allow for us to use rubberized material for any of their projects that we partner with state and federal aid.
This is the project.
Yep. Tiffany's got the project up on the screen now, that shows them out paving and
Yeah, we did some updates. You can see the pictures and kind of the details. So if you're interested, see us after and we can send you a link.
it was a great project. Actually, the crews didn't notice any difference as they were laying it down. There was some difference on how they prepared the mix and how they delivered it, obviously, but the crews actually felt good about how that went down.
All right, getting back to our
Yeah, our presentation.
different strategies.
Yep. Wait for Tiffany to get back to the
Give me a second.
presentation.
Mhm.
So when we're looking at our asset management practices, we have our strategy, and our strategy is to focus on preventative maintenance, and that's to look at the different types of improvements, whether it's a crack seal or seal coat, which would be the chip and fog, resurfacing, whether that's paved or unpaved, and then a full reconstruct, whether that's to fully reconstruct and remove all the underlying material and replace that, or to do a pulverization, that would be a reconstruct. The name of the game is to apply that right fix at the right time at the right place. And so we do a visual inspection. We can get to the next slide. I think that goes, nope, that's the slide after this one. So the name of the game was to apply the right fix at the right time. And we have a staff here that looks at that. Yeah, I guess that would be kind of moving ahead to this, where we do a visual inspection. We rate the roads. If you want to, I'll touch on the previous screen first, Tiffany. That way we can kind of get through that one because I have a lot on that screen. So this is a breakup again. Matt kind of talked about some of our system as far as our primary and local. This is what we have it broken up between our paved and unpaved local and primary roads. So we have about just over 900 miles of paved road, whether that's primary or local, and then about 700 and it's over 740 miles of unpaved roadway within our system. So whenever we do our evaluation, it's called PASER. That's pavement surface evaluation and rating. So whenever you hear that in the future, that PASER rating, that's a visual inspection. We have trained individuals here that go out with a crew that involve MDOT and other agencies to do a visual inspection on our roadways. We look at our primary road system every year. We rate that, our primary road system. Our local paved system, we rate that every other year. 2025 was our most previous rating, and how that rating is done, it's a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best rating, 1 being the worst. And then we break that down a little bit further into a good, fair, and poor part of our condition rating. Tiffany brought up our, this is how our primary and local roads. So part of our asset management plan, which covers our primary road system, we're required to set a goal. And that goal was something that we had set through our board, and it was to have 80% of our primary paved system in good and fair. We've achieved that, and that's great. So now we have to continue to maintain that. Again, like I said earlier, our good and fair, that's and we provide preventative maintenance practices. That's a little less expensive to maintain that than it is our poor roads. Our local road system is quite the opposite right now. And this is, again, our snapshot, a pie chart of our local road paved system. And you can see we have almost 70% of our local paved system in poor condition. And that's one reason why when we're looking at this additional funds that Matt described earlier, as far as our local match, we need to put some more focus on our local road system and looking at that. And hopefully we can start to eat into some of those poor roads.
Brent, could I just interject?
Yeah.
Tiffany, could you go back to that slide? Yes, thank you. So one of the reasons why we were able to achieve that good and fair condition on the primary system, because we had consistent revenue source.
Yep.
A big part of that is that non-motorized and countywide road millage, that additional $5 million that we're investing into the primary system every year. So it's sustained, consistent investment, and using those asset management strategies, we're able to move the needle. The story is a little different to tell on the local road system. When you think about it, a lot of our subdivisions, we experienced quite a bit of growth in the late 90s, early 2000s in Washtenaw County. And that growth built a lot of new subdivision roads through development. And ultimately, those roads are now 20 plus years old, right? So they're at the end of their service life. And if we haven't been able to invest and do the resurfacing, there are a lot of subdivision roads in poor condition, and it takes a lot of investment to bring them back to a good condition. So that's really where we're at. It's a big dilemma, and one of our biggest issues in trying to address the condition of our local roads.
We have a question.
How difficult would it be to break down the local road that's 69% that's poor? How difficult would it be to break it down to help us understand, by township or by municipality, what their percentage is?
Sure. Yeah, no, we can definitely do that. In fact, when we get into discussing the local road packets, there are maps and mileages that we can definitely prepare the similar pie chart for each of the townships. You bet. Next slide.
Next
Go ahead,
slide.
Ted.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So part of our asset management strategies, again, looking at our preservation as far as pavement in good and fair condition, we look at two types of improvements for those, whether that be crack sealing. You can see some of our crews out now. That's where they're actually putting an emulsion into the crack and trying to eliminate that water infiltration into our pavement. Same thing, same type of aspect with our chip seal and fog seal, which we call seal coat. Our crack seal, it's about $10,000 a mile. So again, that's a low cost preventative maintenance practice. Seal coat, that's about $45,000 a mile. Again, it's a low cost. We can cover lots of miles and help protect our roads. We always say we compare it to sunscreen. So whenever you go out into the sun, of course, oxidizes our pavement, and you put sunscreen on to help protect your skin. That chip seal and fog seal is the sunscreen for our roads, helps protect that from oxidation and helps extend the service life of our roads.
Can you describe the difference between chip seal and fog seal?
Yeah, so a chip seal, so we do both. So our seal coat includes both a chip where we lay an emulsion, then we put some stone aggregate down on that. It's called trap rock. We put that down on our roads, and then later we'll come down and we'll fog over it. We'll spray that to make it, and it helps again keep the water out. Our operations department does a great job. We do a lot of that in-house. I don't know, Adam, if you got any other comments on that.
Yeah, I really do appreciate that. That's a good question. Yeah, it's really those two sealers. And we've been lucky the past 10 years or so, been able to do both at once. There was a time where we could just seal coat, so just do the chip part of that program. Then we were able to build in the fog portion. So now our seal coat program has two of those sealers. The roads get that underlying sealer on it, which covers it edge to edge. And then the track rock that Brent referred to really is just abrasive material for traction for the vehicles. And then to keep the stone there all where it belongs and where it was originally set. That's another benefit of the fog seal portion. But then that fog seal is that secondary sealer that does truly waterproof that top surface of the road.
And usually a seal coat may extend the service life of that road 2 or 3 years, depending on the underlying condition of the road at the
Yeah.
timeliness. So a lot of times you'll see us do a resurfacing project, and within a year or two, we're seal coating it. The reason being is we're trying to protect that investment. You'll see when it's freshly paved, it's very black, right? And then the sun gets to it and it looks like this picture, it oxidizes. It makes the mix brittle and it starts to crack over time. So we're trying to prevent that oxidation with the seal coating, and it really prolongs that investment. When you're spending quite a bit to pave, you want to make sure it's a worthy investment.
You have a picture?
We do not in this presentation.
I can show you some offline once we break out. I can leave the computer up for you guys downstairs.
Yep. Thank you. Yep, Caroline.
Together, in other words, before you do a seal coat, and it's just visible cracks, do you crack seal first and then seal coat over the top?
We have, yes,
Can you
that.
repeat
And
the
so,
question? Because people.
oh,
are
yeah.
asking here.
the question is, do we do a crack seal in addition to doing a chip seal or a seal coat? And yes, we have. In some cases, there are multiple years where we'll do a crack seal in 1 year, and the next year we'll come through and we'll chip seal it or seal coat it. Yes. So then again, we start to ramp up in the costs to maintain our condition of our pavement. We get into a mill and resurface. So again, this would be for a fair condition road. A lot of times it's a curb and gutter roadway where we'll mill off 2 inches and then we'll put 2 inches back. And the focus is on that fair condition road. This isn't something we would do on a poor condition road because there's a lot of different cracks within that road that wouldn't allow us to. Those cracks would then reflect back up into that new pavement. So this is about $250,000 a mile to do a mill and resurface.
Brent, that's for a two-lane road.
Yes.
Anytime we've got more than 2 lanes, it obviously increases the cost dramatically.
Yes.
Is it same without curb?
Generally speaking, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
What was
because
the
usually the question was, is it the same cost with curb or without curb? Generally speaking, we're not doing anything with the curb when we're doing a mill and resurface. So the curb is just there for drainage purposes. We may address certain spot locations, but ultimately the cost is similar.
Then we get into we keep going up in the cost. This would be a full reconstruct or not a full it'd be a reconstruct method, and that would be a pulverize and resurface. This is for pavement which is in poor condition, and this is about $450,000 a mile. We've seen these costs continue to rise. I know that what we use for planning dollars, a lot of the numbers that we're using here are within our current asset management plan, but our costs have continued to climb. We're seeing these around $500,000 to $600,000 a mile for our pulverization. Again, that's based on a 2-lane roadway. And then we have to also look at what type of drainage improvements we need for a reconstructed road.
Brent, can I ask, is this done in-house or is this done via contractor?
These would be done by a contractor. We don't have the equipment or expertise to do a pulverization.
Yeah, anytime we're paving, we're hiring a contractor.
Correct.
You had a question?
Yes, the cost increase, is that over the course of 1 year? And what is attributed to that?
So the costs are variable every year. So it depends. There's a lot of variables. For instance, when they were doing a major freeway reconstruction project, it can eat up all the trucking in the area. So then when we bid something locally that's nearby, it can have a dramatic effect on the trucking costs. It varies year to year. We actually saw favorable bid prices the last couple of contracts, which is good. That makes me feel better when I'm looking at the budget, because ultimately in the industry, the last few years, there's been the bond program. You've heard a lot about the bond program and the bond money, which was, something that the governor had instituted for the state roads. And that bond program put a lot of projects into motion in play. And what we've seen over the course of that 3 or 4 years of really heavy construction is the demand for work and capacity to get the work done. It caused our locally bid projects to go up. A lot of that bond work is wrapping up, and my hope, this is just Matt's hope, is that we're going to see things a little bit more normalizing, but we continue to bid out work. We have to monitor and adjust our pricing as we do engineers' estimates. So I think what we've seen industry-wide is everyone got really nervous, and so the engineers' estimates went up, and now the bids are tending to come in a little under what we are planning for. So stay tuned. Yeah.
Got another question back there.
Yes.
Yeah, do they allocate less funds for communities that have more no truck routes?
So the question is, for communities that have no truck routes, are there less funds? I will say that from a federal standpoint, any restriction on trucks will prohibit our use of federal funds. But if your truck restrictions are on local roads, they aren't eligible for federal funds anyway. So it's a complicated question. So
Repeat that again.
the question was, if you have truck restrictions, like you're prohibiting truck traffic, a lot of townships may have a truck ordinance where they prohibit truck traffic on public roads. Does that negate the use of certain types of funding? And the answer is yes. Federal funds, we can't have truck restrictions. However, federal funds generally only apply to primary roads. Okay. Any other questions? Caroline and Caroline, I don't know if Caroline wants to go first.
I remember you had a previous slide in a previous presentation where there was a particular paved process that was 1.5 million per mile.
That would be a complete reconstruct. The question is, there was a slide, and I don't know if we took it out.
We took it out, yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen that often, but like a full reconstruct where we take out all the existing material, all the underlying material, and reconstruct. Example would be like the Carpenter Road in Pittsfield or Jackson Road. We don't do those very often, but when they do, they're very, very expensive.
So then taking a road from gravel to paved.
Yeah, that's another one where we recently did that one on Bemis Road. So Bemis between Hitchingham and Stony Creek. That project was paving a gravel road where we took a lot of the underlying material out, reestablished ditches, replaced culverts, did intersection work, and that was
Over $2 million to do that.
no
For-
$2 million for 1.5 or 1.25
Yeah,
miles.
it was just over a mile. So it was like $2.25 million to repave that gravel road.
And each project is going to have its nuances, whether you're dealing with an intersection or you're doing with underground culverts. Could be a large culvert. The large culvert could be $500,000 right there. So every project has its own engineer's estimate. So when we're talking planning, yes, the range is anywhere between $1.5 to $2 million per mile for a reconstruct. And that's why I get that question a lot. Why do we have so many gravel roads? Well, to pave them, we don't have that kind of money. That's the reality. So there's the project update on Bemis Road. That was completed just this last fall.
And this road was a local road, millage funded. So it was one of our rare local roads that was millage funded, but we've converted that to primary road. So we've worked with the state on classifying that road as a primary road.
Yeah, we knew that would be the case, that where we could put millage funds towards it. And it was one of those border roads between Ypsilanti and Augusta townships. So, all right.
Would you consider that a culvert you just passed?
Yes, because it's less than 20 feet.
Yes.
20 feet across?
20-foot span. So you're spanning the water course was less than 20 feet. So it's measured from edge to edge, essentially, the opening. And it's less than 20 feet. So that would be a culvert.
Another question?
Commissioner Sanders?
Maybe two questions. One is, what relief do municipalities have if you've got truck traffic that is choosing to travel on the local roads? What relief do they have? Because you're basically allowing them to travel through and not have to contribute to the maintenance of that road.
Well,
That's one question.
can I take that one at a time? Okay, so that truck question comes up often. They pay the same fees we all do. In fact, their fees are much higher for their commercial license plate. And then they pay the same diesel fuel taxes that we do at the pump. So they contribute. And if it's a public road, trucks are allowed to be on it unless there's a local ordinance prohibiting it. And so there really isn't a relief. Public roads are allowing truck traffic. Now, certain local roads have some restrictions. They have less weight per axle that they can carry, and if they're over that weight, then they can receive a ticket. We don't receive any revenue from commercial vehicle tickets. Now, this is our truck operators map. Tiffany put it up there. Over on the left side, you can kind of see there's different weight restrictions for normal routes or designated truck routes. Our designated truck routes are listed in blue, and those would be examples like primary roads that were built for truck traffic, like Jackson Road, US 12. And so they can carry weights higher than the other normal routes. So trucking is it is a rabbit hole we can go down, but there's a lot of questions related to trucking, and I understand why, because it gets confusing.
This is a question or a suggestion, and you and Chair Fuller can be mad at me later. Or not. Or not. I'm wondering out loud, though, if the road commission has ever offered or thought about hosting some sort of education session for our municipalities about how they can strengthen sort of their asks when companies choose to come in and build. So I'll use Morgan Road as an example. So Amazon took care of paving that road that was previously unpaved because their trucks are going to be using it. Has the road commission ever thought about gathering the townships together and saying, let's figure out how we can help you sort of push this cost back onto where it should be and not onto the residents that are not putting the same wear and tear that companies moving into their areas are doing?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we certainly
Can you repeat the question?
The question is, how can the road commission support local government when making essentially land use decisions and understanding the impacts? And how do we push back for mitigating those impacts? So the road commission certainly walks alongside the townships who are ultimately responsible for those land use decisions. We have developed a robust permitting process whereby if it's a significant development, we require a traffic impact study. I look at Stan because we've worked on a number of traffic impact studies in Ypsilanti Township that have resulted in improvements. What we're doing is we're looking at in a number of communities. We look at the impacts from a traffic perspective. We look at the condition, the example you gave in Pittsfield Township. Amazon was proposing to build a warehouse along Carpenter Road. We said, well, how are the trucks going to get there? And yes, they could use US 12 and Carpenter, but most likely they would come down that gravel Morgan Road, which led to directly accessing the site's commercial truck entrance. So we were able to make the case, along with Pittsfield Township, that they should contribute to paving Morgan Road. That is not uncommon, but not necessarily the norm when dealing with development. We really have to look at what are the immediate impacts attributable to that development. So that traffic impact study helps us to identify that and then ultimately work together in formulating agreements, whether it could be a PUD, could be straight rezone, could be an existing zoning, but now you're approving a site plan. So all those play into how that gets formulated. And we absolutely will continue to work alongside because it's important when the townships are making those land use decisions at the planning commission and then ultimately the township board, that they have all that information and we're there to support that decision making. So great question.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. And then I have Diane as well.
Guess I just would like to put a caveat on there, which is you provide a service to our residents in Washtenaw County. For whatever reason, we are the hot land topic for, don't give it that, data centers and everything else. And so I just believe that we need to be asking for more. You have not because you ask not. And I understand what you're saying, that that has not been the norm, but perhaps it needs to start being the norm.
Yeah.
Because the burden should not be on the residents.
Yeah, ultimately, there's a lot of case law on that, so you have to be careful and work within the confines of the laws. We don't make ordinances at the road commission. We don't make the laws. We have to live within them. But we are absolutely pushing to make sure mitigation occurs for
Last
impacts. Yeah,
But we have lobbyists. and we have
Understood.
Elected officials.
absolutely. Yep. So I had this gentleman, you want to go ahead and say your question? I can repeat it.
Have you considered a similar sort of advocacy arrangement with working with the state as far as impact of improvements to recreation areas? And then more locally, the border trail, that sort of thing, the increase in traffic attributable to not only just the presence of the state recreation areas, but the improvements that happen with those and the increased traffic attributable to that.
So the question was, as it relates to recreational areas, state land and or recreation improvements, it certainly has an impact for people coming and using those recreations. So how do you fairly assign essentially a user cost, right, to the transportation network? I don't have an answer for that one. Certainly that is a great question for working in Lansing. Certainly we can raise that through our county road association, that I'm sure there's other communities that have similar concerns that we can raise. And certainly parks and recreation, there's a lot of great recreation in Washington County, but eventually you need a road to get there to go there, right?
Very helpful.
Yeah,
Have the same sort of attention paid to this
sure.
interaction with the state as there are with the commercial operations.
Yeah, we have more means because they need a permit from us, right? For a commercial development, they need a driveway permit. So we are rooted in our driveway authority granted to us for permitting process. That does not necessarily exist for recreation for us. Diane, you had a question?
But I'm wondering about the interface of the road commission, MDOT, and the township. When decisions are made for the truck traffic, for the reconstruction of, for example, the Warren Road Bridge, for the closing of different roads for detours. I know that construction meetings are going on, even though it was canceled today. I think Aaron is at the Warren Road Bridge construction meeting. And I'm just curious how much coordination there is between the state road commission and what the township can do for helping to advocate the detours use.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's, I can mention it, so with, and that material.
Yes. No, I recognize that there's been a number of different challenges, whether it is.
Yes,
So the question relates to the coordination related to closures and detours and construction truck traffic, and how the state, the township, and the road commission can collaborate and communicate those issues. I can say for our agency, the road commission, when we do a closure, we sign and detour generally if it's a paved road, a paved primary, we're detouring on those paved primaries. So that essentially that type of traffic that's driving on that road doesn't take a local road or a gravel road. That doesn't mean that traffic can't decide where to go. Because we sign it doesn't mean thou shalt take this route. It's a public road everywhere you go. Therefore, they have a right to go there. So the local roads are allowed to use, but they have to legally use them via speed, via loading, via commercial traffic. The local roads do have a restriction as it relates to weight, as a restriction as it relates to width, height, and length. So those are all issues that come up during construction. Do we talk about it? Absolutely. Should we be communicating with the townships? Absolutely. Generally, when we have our public engagement meetings, particularly for construction, the first question we ask is, or that we get asked is, what's the detour? And how are we going to be impacted? And what about my local gravel road? Is it going to get more love and attention? Yes. The district foremen are very aware of the posted detour and then the unofficial makes sense to the locals detour. And we need to be certainly aware of additional scraping and dust control on those local roads. However, I will, with the caveat, generally speaking, each district only has 2 graders and hundreds of miles to get to. So if we're spending more time on the detour, we're doing less time elsewhere.
That people will choose to go where they want to go, but the trucks that are supporting the construction, do they follow the detour?
They have to legally,
repeat the question.
so the trucks on the construction projects, do they have to follow the detour? No, but they have to legally be allowed to use the roads that they're using, meaning some of the gravel trains may not be allowed because of they are longer than they should be for a local road. Jared's nodding yes, and he is a duly authorized weighmaster of the road commission at one point. So I look to him as my expert. Thank you.
Brent, you want to get back?
Yep, so we can get back to, and actually, this is where I'm going to pass it off to Adam, and he can talk about our unpaved resurfacing, and then he'll get into the local road packets.
All right, thank you, Brent. Yeah, so slightly less complicated. So we'll talk a little bit about unpaved surfacing, or excuse me, resurfacing here. So limestone or gravel, both those projects are essentially the same thing, just a different material that we spread on the road to finalize the project. And kind of mix of fixes with that material throughout the county, depending on kind of traffic volumes, historic use that the townships used throughout the time. And then are we upping traffic volumes potentially is when we start looking to transfer a road from a gravel to a limestone. Cost for that is typically between $60,000 and $100,000 per mile to really undertake those projects, improve drainage, and kind of move the project forward.
We got a question.
I have a question.
Yes.
What makes you decide whether you're gonna use gravel or limestone?
So the decision.
Repeat the
Yeah,
question.
so the decision between gravel and limestone is typically based off of one being the topography of the area. Same thing we kind of touched on a little bit before about drainage, and then the number one factor is going to be your traffic volume. You know, is it a rural route with just a few hundred cars per day? And then that third part of the process is what have we historically used? What has the township had historically throughout the, spread on the roads throughout the township? And then do we expect development or something to push the traffic volume where we would need that limestone? Difference, simply put, between gravel is a little more natural aggregate. It's going to have a little bit more sand and clay, so it's a little bit more less compactable, a little more free moving. So as you start adding a lot of traffic to it, you stand the chance to get the washboarding referred to, which is really, if you think of an old historic washboard, that's really what the roads will look like as vehicles and suspensions start spinning and the suspension bounces as people are trying to accelerate, decelerate, things like that. The limestone itself, more compactable, will solidify a little bit better with our brine material that we're going to put on it. That's primarily with the fines. That lime material in there will tie that up a little bit and keep the road, as we refer to it, as tighter, but really what that means is just more solid, potential to be a little more smooth on the surface after we roll and compact it.
And then the limestone too is a crushed aggregate. So you have the interlocking aggregate really helps support that more additional traffic.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great point. The
Yep.
stability is better with that because it can lock together when we are compacting it. So thank you, Matt. That's a good point.
Yep.
You have two questions.
Okay.
Maintenance the same.
Maintenance the same.
Understand that limestone is a harder material.
Mhm.
You're gonna scrape it less.
Yep. So maintenance isn't the same. The process is the same.
You have
It's
to
just-
repeat that question because
Yeah. So
Okay.
maintenance itself. So the question was specific to, is maintenance different or the same? The process is the same, but the maintenance timelines sometimes are a little bit longer. So that's where the difference comes in. The limestone will solidify. It is harder, and you're usually able to get a little bit more longevity between scrapings or between a grading and a dust control suppression application. Whereas the gravel, you might have to come back more frequently just simply because it's moving around a little bit more as traffic progresses through the road.
we had two more questions. Ma'am in the front, go ahead.
Yeah, how can you visually tell the difference, or how do you know which ones are which?
So the question was about visual differences. That's our slides helps us here. So the slide on the left is a limestone project. So that's going to have more of a white look to it. And then the slide on the right is that natural, that's that gravel. So it's going to have almost to the naked eye or to someone not really familiar with it, it's almost going to look the color of sand. So if that's helpful, maybe for the group that's virtually as well.
In the back right here.
Is there more wear and tear on your equipment to scrape limestone than there is to the gravel?
Yeah, wear and tear on our equipment was the question. Yes, limestone inherently takes a little bit more fuel, degrades the tires a little bit quicker, and then the bits, the material, the steel bits that we use that kind of spin inside the grader board as they're going down the road. A little bit more wear on them, but nothing that we're not accustomed to or familiar with.
Right here.
I
in the
had
back,
Caroline in the
one
back
lady in the
first
back.
there. Yep.
I have not seen it referenced anywhere here, but, right up, the road commission doesn't use the IBR, the inventory, base rating system by Michigan for gravel roads. It pays it for paved.
Yeah, so for gravel roads, it is suspect on the day that you rate them, right? Because the gravel road inherently can change dramatically depending on the season. Our foremen are very familiar with, and our superintendents and our grader operators have a real good sense on prioritization as far as rating what roads need attention and ultimately need to be resurfaced. So the rating system typically, if you go midsummer after it's been dust controlled and graded and scraped, they may look beautiful and they'll look very different a month from now or now, right? So it really highly dependent on when you look at it. Whereas a paved road, it doesn't matter what time of year. So the gravel it's just ever changing. So we have not adopted because our district foremen typically have got a lot of experience in the area and know where the priorities are.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
We have one right.
I think I
Ma'am.
do, yeah.
the gravel pit that we have within Washtenaw County, that we're not able to use that gravel. We have to have it trucked in from others, just confirming, and then does that increase the cost? More
Yeah.
than just increased trucking?
Yep. So the question about material within the county and why some materials don't qualify and does the cost increase? So first answer to that is some of the material itself doesn't pass the gradation requirements to be used as a specified material for us. That comes from Michigan Department of Transportation spec that we try to, work within. And then cost, yes, it will cost some more to bring material in, but these same groups are bringing that material that doesn't qualify for us, doesn't qualify for the contractors. So theoretically, the prices aren't, inflated as bad as you would think because they're hauling material in for the contractors as well. So inevitably we end up benefit from some economy of scale.
Yeah,
to keep
we're
that cost.
fortunate that we do have material close by. The Maybe quarry is where a lot of the limestone material comes from, so it's not that far. A lot of the quarries in Washtenaw County are producing like sandier, more material that go into things like concrete and asphalt, like the 2&S sand. So we do get some of that for our purposes locally. We use sand in winter maintenance and also during our excavations and backfill materials. So, but we want to keep going into our local road packet. We do only have another 25 minutes program. So if we can hold questions to the end, we want to get through the local road packet, and then we'll also have time at lunch. We're going to have a hard stop at noon for those online, but we can have further dialogue afternoon after our hybrid meeting's over.
Yeah, so I can help the majority of you. Some of these questions are pretty easy questions we can work through. So if any questions, I'll be around the rest of the day. So specific to funding the local road system, this is really where it comes into play. You see a lot of my team visit you guys, or some of you that are new with us. You'll see a lot of us between the foreman, the superintendents, myself, really talking about the local road program. So how those funding pots are together, we refer to them as a funding pot. The local road matching program itself, you can see on the screen there, there's quite a few options to generate funds for the townships. General fund is the majority. So I'm just going to touch on that and then we'll kind of move on. I can help everybody through some of the other the bullet points there that we have examples in this presentation. General fund is what most townships are going to fund some level of road improvements each year. And then it just varies between, do they have some of the other 3 bullet points that we've talked about. And I'll highlight a few of those as we work into the program here. So some of the current road millages, as you see in front of you here, some of the most recent ones we'll highlight is Webster Township. They really utilize some of the material as we've talked as the group, and I'll show through the local road packet. They really just stayed tried and true and used some of our planning methods in the packet to kind of set themselves up for a 10-year roads millage. And they're attributing the money generated from that millage directly to just the road system. So that's probably a critical point that we'll talk about if any of your townships get to that point. We'll help you strategize long before you're left out on the own to take that on. The local road funding packet itself went out last Friday to the group. So that was all elected officials at the township level, very specific to your township. So within your folders, you're probably perusing through some of that. We're going to flip through that here, about 9 or 10 pages worth of just general information I'd like to highlight. So I'll give you a second to kind of flip. We're going to go on page 3, I believe, as our first page. And really,
So if everyone can open their road packet, it is in your packet for the people in person.
Yep.
You have your packet. It says your local road packet. It's by township.
Then I had Lyndon in mind.
oh, there you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
What did you get? Well, I'm trying to find, where to say that?
Try the front. Yeah, page 3 would be your landing page.
There you go. Okay, go ahead, Adam, when you're ready. I think everybody has their packet.
Thank you, Tiffany. And for those online, you can get it on the township page.
I've provided a link in the chat.
Great.
Thanks, Tiffany. Yeah, so, oops, sorry.
Everybody should have a packet in their folder.
And who are you missing?
Salem.
Salem, you need Salem.
Yeah.
I think, Ryan,
And if you don't have it right now, we aren't going to be able to produce it, but you can look at it online through your township page, and we can get you a copy before you leave today.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'll continue in here as you guys kind of orient yourself with it. Main thing is page 3 that we're going to talk about here. You can see on the screen. That's your kind of your landing page. So that's going to tell you, you know, obviously it's going to be specific to your township, but in Pam's case, you were looking what township in my opening. That's where you'll be able to see exactly what township you're in. We have a little bit of inventory there. We cover our primary road system, but more importantly, we highlight here the local road system itself. Gives you guys that quick look and that quick data point of how many miles do we have, what type of surface does it have, bridges and structures, things like that that are important to look through. And then you go just below that, you'll have the 2026 matching program allocation. And then specific to your township, that's the allocated township roads funding allocation, which is part of that 50% partnership we referred to in the packet earlier today.
And again, the $4 million is broken out into the 20 townships. That $4 million is proportioned to each township based on their local miles and population. So it mirrors how we get our Act 51 MTF money. So that's how we attribute that $4 million. For instance, Northfield's share of that is 203, and that's based $1,000 based on their local miles and population. Local miles, period.
In
Yep.
totality, yep. Thanks, Matt. And then just below that on the bottom of the screen, the local roads needs. The reason we put this here is, once again, this landing page is general information to help with the planning procedure. So if you see to the bottom right of your screen, you'll see the average 10-year annual expenditure needed. What that is, that's obviously simple math from your needs in the township divided by 10. The reason the 10 is, that's usually what a roads millage is, somewhere around a 10-year mark. So we try to use simple math to try to help groups as they're looking to the asset management planning in future investments or future planning for investments. Not an absolute requirement by any means, but simple information to kind of help your mind as you start looking through the rest of the packet.
We just recognize there's a lot of needs out there, and there's no way any one community can try and tackle it in 2 or 3 years or even 5 years. Really, you got to take a longer term investment standpoint where we need sustained in order to solve this problem of all the needs on both the paved and local unpaved side. For instance, it's $7.7 million. That's a big number, right? So really, if you attack it and just spend roughly $700,000 a year, you're going to get there. But ultimately, we recognize not everyone has those funds. So what can you budget for reasonably year to year? And then what can we put together as a plan alongside our matching allocation?
Yeah, shameless plug kind of from my perspective and my team's side of things. We need the sustained investments, and we've talked about that with a lot of you in the room. Reality may not be, in this case, $700,000 each year, but a good reality is just a set allocation that we can plan with. And then we know now what 2027 we want to do, 2028 we want to do, because we'll have that fund kind of established and moving it forward for us.
Next slide. So this is page number.
This one will be page number 5, as Barb's passing a few of them out there. Really, we wanted to highlight in the packet is the historic contributions. We keep a 4 or 5 year average all the time. And so we can obviously take it far back in history if you'd like, but we try to just to isolate the past few years to try to help you guys with an average expenditure that you've had for your township. That information also will be later in one of the appendices. We'll actually have a map that I'll show you here before we exit the program, where you can see in general spacing, like where have you done your work to try to help you kind of orient yourself. And that also is how you would hear a road foreman or a superintendent touch base with you, and they may suggest something within reason or very close to the location we worked last year, trying to kind of work through a phase. And so that's some of the times you may hear our foreman reach out to you and talk about what kind of phase work they're going to do. That's really where we start to generate this map, no pun intended, to move us into the future and what kind of allocation we need. And then at the bottom of the screen is our contact information. So you have myself in the middle, every area foreman's on the left side. And then on our right side is some of our general contact information, just to get a hold of our communications team, and then some of our online options as well. We have our C-Click fix there that you can also put in trouble tickets if you're coming across areas and seeing things. But speaking to this group, most of you probably have direct contact with the team up here at the Diaz or directly to the foreman. So sometimes that information is expedited and just given to the foreman. But if you did need to send it out to constituents, that's really a WCRC Fix It app is a great way to get that information out and get it to our foreman for repairs. And then for the local roads funding itself, another overview portion of this, we've talked about this really the whole program itself. I can help you through the processes if need be offline, but specifically to this year, as Matt alluded to, we did up the program from $2 million to $4 million for the matching. So that's an incredible increase this year. We're excited for that. We're just going to continue moving that up as we go here. And then the local roads, culvert and bridges projects, we made light of this a few slides ago, but really this is just that information specific to 5 feet and greater structures or culverts where we're going to be a portion of that and need a partner. Anything underneath that size, so 5 feet less, you're going to have our maintenance crews doing that under just a portion of maintenance. And then funding options for townships. Like I say, really just wanted to open that up again. Those are the couple buckets that I just described on the first slide. That's incrementally ways to describe that. And like I say, we can help you guys specifically through that, because if you're getting into millages, township-wide millage, special assessment districts, which we refer to as SADs, you're likely going to be working with ourselves or the engineering team to really strategize before you maybe take that to your constituents. So those, I just wanted to highlight that on page 15, or excuse me, page 11, really just to make sure you guys know where to find it, and then we'll help you through it specifically to your township's needs.
Yeah, each township approaches policy decisions differently. There are some townships that say, we're not going to invest in subdivision roads. We want those to be special assessment districts. We're going to focus in on the collector local roads. Others invest heavily in the subdivisions. It really just depends on your individual township's policies and how you're going about allocating funds for local road improvements.
Thanks, Matt. And then page 15, just wanted to highlight our deadline again. We need to have conversations and know where the allocations are going to go before Friday, May 1st of 2026. That's very important for us for planning. We've already reached out to those of you that may be doing some paving work this year. We'd like to let out some of the bidding in March so we can achieve those projects this season. So we have Felix with us in the room. Felix is overseeing some of that program. So you all get to know him and some of the engineering team if we reach that point of paving with some of the groups. And then finally is the 18th page in the book, but it is an appendice. It's just a map of your township, and that goes back to the historic investments. So what that is a way you can kind of orient yourself, especially if you're new to the group, orient yourself with what may happened prior to you taking your seat on the board or coming into work for the township specific. This map, we keep building it, and this is where our foreman will usually spend time talking with most of you specific to where we want to go, kind of set our priorities, which set us in motion for the portion of the year where we're actually in right now, where we've kind of already set those priorities with a good majority of the group. And then we're designing proposals for the rest of the group that we might not have touched base with yet. And then taxable value data. This is another appendice. This is, I believe, the 22nd or 23rd page in your packet. So essentially the last page. This is if you get to that millage portion or that planning portion of what would a millage create within your township.
If you were to consider it.
Yeah, if you were to consider, yeah, no,
Yeah.
certainly not forced. So I apologize for rushing through. I certainly will help any of you walk through your specific packet offline if you need it. We'll walk you through every page if need be. What we're going to do is transition here. Tiffany is going to kind of describe how to find yourself to the township page on our website, which also has all this information we talked about electronically, and it will also have your agreements, your previous booklets, previous agreements. So it's a way of just an easy point of access for township officials to get to throughout the year. Or if you have a constituent that asks questions, you can help them that way. So you're not worried about trying to print this or post a page. You can just direct them to the website and then we can help them from there.
So thank you, Adam. So you'll go to our website in your browser, wcroads.org. This is the homepage. You'll see at the top bar there, townships. We made it very simple to get to, townships. You click on your township bar there, and then we have a home page that explains everything that the panel went over today. So, and then you can come here at the bottom, and each township has a page. So because we did Northfield Township, I'll just click on Northfield Township. Northfield Township, you click on the card, then it comes to your page, Northfield Township page. We have geolocated some pictures that we have projects there. Here at the top, we have some information, your primary roads, your local roads, and this is your funding packet. You click here, and that is where you'll see the funding packet. So you can get all the information there. You can actually share this. I'll go back. We also have a link to every township's website so that all visitors can link back to your website. Also, if you scroll down a little, this is here in the latest updates will be all of the road work going on in your township. So everything that from our maintenance team to our engineering team and what's going on, any sort of road work going on in that township will be here under the latest updates. Also on the side here on the right, you will see contact information, also our previous booklets. So you can go back and see what the booklets are that you've had from all the way down to 2022. We also have a township map. So this will be your certification map. So if you click on your map, that should lead you right to your certification map. Okay? And then we can go back. I'll fix that. And then down here at the bottom will be all of your agreements. So once you create an agreement, it then goes to the board. And once the WCRC board approves it, it then is signed by you and the board. And then we then post it right here under township agreements. So you can also reference this website. We wanted to make it as user-friendly as possible. Also, if you scroll down, if someone or you want to make a report a road issue, I call it your second set of eyes. You all are our second set of eyes. If you see something, report it, please. And this is where you can report the road issue, and it goes directly to the foreman. So this is how we are trying to put a lot of information so that you can see it and just being open and transparent. I just wanted to show you how we are doing that. Also, for the in-person attendees, you received a township card, like a postcard in your packet. This will then go out to all of your residents. Once a agreement is made, you will see a township postcard they will get one in the mail to let them know that a project is coming to their area. That is another way we are trying to communicate with residents. We just want to give you a heads up on that. Now I'll turn it back over. Oh, go ahead, sir.
The app,
Yes.
your app. So
Yes.
it's tied in with your app?
Yes, yes. So if you go here, you can either do it online or you can do it on the WCRC Fix-It app. That's Apple and Droid.
Okay, so people are on that. I mean, I've been in my township, people call, like, tell them download the app.
Yes, download the app. Yes. For the question is about the app. Can you download the app? Yes, sir. You can download the app on all of your your mobile devices, whether it be Apple, your app store, whatever your app store is, whether it be Apple App Store or the Google Store, Play Store.
That app take you to this website or will it just give you the?
No, it has a link, a hot link to take you to the website, or you can then you can just submit it via the app, or you can go to the website. It's up to you. Yes, ma'am, in the front. Just for the fix it. But you can also link to our website if you're looking to go onto the website, you would have to go out of the app and then you're going to click on the link that says go to the website. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I do have well, I don't know if this is, we're waiting to the end for questions.
Okay.
Related.
We're there.
We're there.
We're kind of there. We're kind of there. We're kind of there. I was going to show you how to get to different contacts, but go
This is fantastic. Thank you, Tiffany. I really appreciated your sharing of this. I was on one of the public calls and I saw you share part of this before. I rely on this. I know other people do. When I say this, I mean your whole website and also the township specific websites, I think are great. The one thing that I'm noticing is missing to me.
Yes.
Is that these projects, like this year's set of projects that I was talking to like Felix and Adam about, we have 4 Lodi Township projects. They're not on the Lodi Township page. Is there a way to link up where we could have somehow get to the project pages from the township pages?
Sure. I can connect I can put a button there that says link to the current projects page. I will add that to everybody's township pages. You're welcome. The question was, can we have a hot link to the current projects page on all of the township pages? I will do that. Bear with me, but I will get that done.
Just to confirm.
There are additional projects.
Yes.
Go here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
Thank
the
you.
township pages, you'll also see project updates. So those will get posted there. So that's get populated, but the current project map is the best way to get to the projects right now. You had a question, sir?
We on general questions?
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
one second, because I do have people online, so I need to instruct them how to ask a question too.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me get back into the presentation so they can also ask a question as well. So now we're at the Q&A. So if you have a question and you're online and you're viewing this, please click the reactions button at the bottom of your screen and the raise your hand button. You can also do this with your phone by dialing *9, and I will ask participants I will address you by your name and ask you to speak, and I'll unmute you. It is now time for a question and answer time, and I'll just put the regular map up. If we have any questions, you can step to the front and we can go with the questions.
Just tell me if I'm understanding this correctly with funding, that the local road funding is completely separate from the primary roads funding. So that, for example, if the road commission is working on a township's primary road, a project, and for some miracle, they finish that project way under budget, the extra funds for that project can only go to other primary road projects. They cannot go to local road projects.
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have 2 questions. One question is, what do we tell all the residents in the last week on the roads? I mean, roads went to hell real quick in a heartbeat. Y'all know that crosswalks are on. And I just want to know what you're.
Yeah, ultimate. Yeah, I'd say Mother Nature at this time, when it gets saturated, think about walking on a beach. As you start walking towards where the water's at and that sand is completely 100% saturated, you sink. And that's the reality of our gravel road system. And yes, agreed. And ultimately, if they've want to report an issue, they can do that. But the reality is we need things to dry out because we can't send a grader on one of those roads because it will sink and make it worse. So it's patience and if they've lived on a gravel road, they know this time of year is going to be difficult. That's a fair statement. I like that statement. Very short, succinct.
Good answer. Good answer.
Wait, sorry, sir. Mike Bossery said he did not hear that question.
The question was, what do you tell residents during this period of time where frost laws are on and there's a lot of difficult travel going on to traverse the roads that are thawing out?
Thank you.
Question I have, with this marijuana tax, it's my understanding that that tax revenue goes to the area wherever that dispensary is. Is that true, or does it go into a fund and it's split up amongst?
The question is related to the marijuana tax and how collection occurs and distribution. I don't know the answer to that. Ultimately, I think it very much like the gas tax. Doesn't matter where you buy your gas, it goes into one pot and then gets distributed by formula. That's Matt's answer.
For smaller areas, cities and townships, saying you're gonna get this much more taxes back from us because of.
Yeah, I don't know that to be true. The Department of Treasury would be a better question to ask. We don't know. Go ahead.
On electric vehicles, the more, I don't know if it's changed, I've heard something about registration that will contribute to road funding. But have you heard anything at the state level about any funding, further funding for electric vehicles? Because if electric vehicles are promoted or sold more and we reduce our gas vehicles,
Yeah. The question was related to how will electric vehicles essentially pay their share for funding roads. Right now, they do pay a registration fee, but they obviously don't pay at the pump. And that is a conundrum that we kind of talked about at the beginning, where the amount of gas being purchased in Michigan has decreased over time. And that's where I think eventually the legislature and governor will have to wrestle with that on how you transition from paying at the pump to possibly mileage-based user fees. So that question was not answered with anything that was done in the fall, other than they're paying for a study on how to move Michigan forward on that question. Yep.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Back to the gravel limestone question. I was checking on the maps. Is there a map that shows which roads are gravel and which roads are limestone?
No. Yeah, you'd have to
Have a conversation.
talk with the district foreman or Adam or Ken or Jared.
Yeah, we can individualize that a little bit better.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's in our very rural areas where we don't have volume. Yep, so.
Okay.
What was the question?
Question was, do we have a map of gravel versus limestone roadways? Natural gravel. And we do not have a published map.
Okay. I think that's all that I have. I just want to put up the contact information here. You can see our hours, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30. Summer hours, that will be some middle of April to Labor Day weekend. That's when we're on summer hours. Again, WCRC Fix It is our second set of eyes. You can send a request there. It's on the App Store, and we're on all social platforms. You can also follow us there, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter. We also have our hybrid board meetings. Please attend. We're the first and third Tuesday of the month, unless scheduling is scheduled differently. That is also on our website under board meetings. It's a 1 p.m. on Zoom. We have Chat with the Road Commission. That's every Wednesday, noon to 12:30. If you wish to speak with Matt McDonough, the managing director, or one of our commissioners, we do that at Zoom. It's kind of the lunch hour. If you have some questions you want addressed, that's a perfect place to do that. And finally, we want to thank you for attending our meeting today.